Hello and welcome. Today we'll be summarizing the bowl rankings. It's me, Secret, coach of Nebraska, and I'm here with the coach of Texas Tech, Coach Tort, and JT,
Hello.
the coach of Michigan.
Howdy.
And I'm going to send it over to Tortilla to start with. I don't know if he wants to start with 25 or 1, but we'll let him start off.
I just wanted to talk about coming into the season. Obviously we had some teams we thought would be good. Hawaii was not one of them. If you ask anybody in the server, Hawaii was not going to be a top 15 team coming into this season.
Yeah, Hawaii was certainly a surprise for me. Coming in, they have a 33 overall quarterback, and they somehow managed to upset Alaska Anchorage. JT, what do you think about Hawaii?
Well, the strength of this team has been their defense so far. Looking at their schedule, outside of Ohio State, they've held teams to under at least 14 points. Notable games as their upset win over Arizona State and Buffalo. Their games against Nevada as well. Of course, that Alaska win was pretty big for the Mountain West. Obviously, they do have a tough challenge ahead when they're going up against Michigan this week, but they have a strong chance to into the conference championship and potentially into that upper echelon if things could go their way and other teams fall down. So be careful of this Hawaii squad here.
A fun statistic for Hawaii. Of the games they've played so far, 7 games, they have not been favored in a single one of them, and they are 6-1.
Well, this next game for them against JT, I believe they're 37.5-point underdogs. So,
yeah, this game should not get close at all. I don't think Hawaii is the best team. I just think that they have apparently a really good coaching staff and some great luck in close games with the win over Fresno, Montana. Who else did they win close? Buffalo, Arizona State.
Alaska was pretty big.
That was a big win, but yeah, they kind of pulled away there. Look at this box score.
And piggybacking off your statistic of them not being favored in any of their games, the next let's see, 1, 2, 3. The next 5 games, they're only favored in one, and that's their game against UNLV. We got obviously the 37.5 spread against Michigan. Oh, sorry, they're favored in 2 games, but I mean, one's basically
That's kind of a pick 'em.
Yeah, that's basically pick 'em in my opinion. 0.5 spread over San Jose State. You got a 10.5 spread underdog for Montana State and a 27.5 spread underdog against New Mexico. It's going to be a tough road for Hawaii in order to keep this up, but as we've seen before, they've definitely stepped up to the task. So we'll see how things turn out, and maybe they could stay in their ranking or get into the top 10.
another surprise, being 1 year removed from a national championship, just having landed the number 1 recruit, Army is not ranked.
Yeah, Army, they've had a rough season, a rough go of it lately. Let me look here.
I wouldn't say they had a rough
lost-
season, but
They
they
lost
for Army
3 and
standards.
4.
For Army
Yeah.
standards.
they're 5 and
They
2,
lost-
but
Yeah, but Army standards are extremely high, and they lost to Virginia at home, and they go and lose to New Mexico. That's really not how Army likes to do things, but they still have a really rough schedule ahead of them. They still have Notre Dame on the road. They still have Navy they have to play. I mean, that's about it. Those 2 games are the only ones that they have that are rough left. But if they lose one or the other, it's going to be rough for them to make the playoffs. It's not looking good.
well, I don't think the playoffs might be in the cards for them. Looking at how they are in the standings right now, they are atop the the Atlantic Division, standing at 3-1. their lone loss in conference coming to Virginia, so they do have a chance to make their conference championship, but you still have Florida State and Clemson breathing down their necks.
Yeah, of course. But they have the wins over both of them, so they have the head-to-head there. So if they beat Notre Dame and they go on to beat Navy, they go to the conference championship and beat Virginia, I think they could be in. But if they lose one of those, then it's looking rough.
That's for sure. A bit of a
By my count,
go ahead. Oh, sorry. I was going to say a bit of a disappointing season for their quarterback. Only 2,000 yards so far. Definitely thought he would do more in terms of production there. Yeah,
well, it's almost 300 yards a game, so that's not bad by any means. He's a tad under 300 yards per game, QBR of over 120. I don't think he's doing awful by any means.
I don't know. Just like compared to some of the performances of other quarterbacks around the nation, I just feel like he kind of should be doing more. But he is a freshman, so
that's fair enough. I'm looking at this top 15. By my count, feel free to fact check me. A third of it is Big Ten teams.
Best conference in the nation.
Wisconsin, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, and Northwestern. I don't think I missed any.
You did not miss any.
Then also, 3 of the top 8 are all group of 5 conference teams. I believe Virginia is in the... Is Virginia in the AAC or the SEC?
You're in the ACC.
Oh, the ACC. Okay, never mind. 2 teams.
Yeah.
Georgetown and Wyoming.
Tortilla taking a little dig at Virginia there. I see.
I thought they were in AAC. That dead ass.
That's crazy. Virginia's.
Like
have you not
anything before? Or like
Tortilla,
any conference championship match?
Well, he hasn't been here long enough to see a lot of those Army-Virginia matches. But Tortilla, have you seen any basketball for college? Do you watch that?
Yes, but I'm Big 12 and Big East. I do not care much about other conferences.
That's fair. Back on topic, though.
Yeah,
the group of 5, they tend to have a couple teams that stay undefeated. They stay near the top. But I've seen this trend over the years. Once the conference play for the actual Power 5 starts, they tend to get a lot more chances at big wins, and that tends to drop the group of 5 down a little bit. So Georgetown at 6, you would think, if they stay undefeated, they'll probably rise more. But I think they might drop because their schedule is absolute cupcake. I don't think they have a single team on their schedule so far over 500. It's completely cupcake.
I don't know if I'm missing something, but I do not see Utah State in this top 25.
Utah State is not ranked. You are correct. They got no votes.
Wow. Close loss to Ohio State, and everything else has been strong, very big wins.
Well, when you look at like losses, like of course a big loss is going to be a factor, but you lose close to Ohio State at home, like it was at home, and you lost close. That's fine. That's fair. But then you look at the rest of their schedule. Let's go over real fast. 3 and 4 Boston College, not really a factor. Houston's unwinning. Of course, that's not a factor. Pittsburgh is unwinning. That's not a factor. You look at San Diego State, they're 3 and 4. They're under 500 as well. Penn State, they're awful. They're awful. And then you go to Minnesota too, and they're also awful. And just there's nothing here. There's nothing to work on. I mean, moving forward, like I said, their schedule toughens up. They get these big Northwestern, Wisconsin games. Utah State will be fine. If they win out, they might even be in. But for now, there's not much to look at, and there's just nothing to rank them on.
That's fair enough.
let's see. So like you said, it's a statistic before of the Big Ten teams. Who do you think would honestly finish in that top 8 for the Big Ten? Like, do you see all of Ohio State, Michigan, and Northwestern finishing in the top 8, or do you see someone like Wisconsin sneaking up in there? Like comparative, like their schedules, who they played so far, their current rankings, and things like that. I'll open the floor.
Are you asking me this or Tortilla?
I'm open the floor up to both of you.
Okay, I'm gonna start. I really just have no clue. I think 3 Big Ten teams sneak in. Whether it's like Ohio State, Michigan State, or Utah State slip in, and then Northwestern and Michigan make the play or the conference championship game. I think that 2 that make the conference championship are probably in. Like, I don't see a path where they miss out. But then, like, the other teams, you get like Ohio State, they lose another game maybe. I mean, it's tough. This year is looking really tough. Ohio State doesn't have an insane schedule that could really make them in. They could get in at 10-2 if they really wanted to, or if they really tried, because they still have Texas left, Wisconsin left, Indiana's bad, Penn State's bad, but then you have Michigan too. They've already beat Alabama and Virginia, or they lost to Virginia, but they played Alabama and Virginia. They played Hawaii, which was a surprise. They're good. They played Utah State, Michigan State. I mean, this schedule is stacked. They could get in with 2 losses, so don't count them out, even if they lose another game. Michigan State probably needs to win out, I would say. I mean, you still have Michigan and Northwestern in here, but without a conference championship, it could be tough for them to make it in. You did have a great win over Colorado. Let's go down the list more. Let's look at Wisconsin. They only lost to Northwestern. We've already talked about Utah State's schedule, but Wisconsin has more. They have a Nebraska win here, but Nebraska's not good, as we've already went over. Ohio State could be a good win. Utah State's a good win. Michigan's a good win. I mean, there's just so many good wins here from Big Ten play. So I just think that they can have 3 or maybe even 4 teams in if things go perfectly.
I think there's an opportunity for Big Ten cannibalism.
Honestly, they've played such a hard schedule already that I think even if they cannibalize each other, like a 10-2 Ohio State without a conference championship could get in. Like they could very well get in. But I at bare minimum, I think 2 teams, the conference championship teams, make it in.
I mean, yeah, look, I may because I'm in the conference, I do sound biased, but I think just honestly, the Big Ten is just showing to be the best conference this season. Like the talent level of all these teams in the conference is just insane. And
yeah, it's a very top end conference. There's a ton of top end talent on these rosters.
Yeah, this is just like Ohio State's up there, Northwestern for sure. Northwestern, I think no matter what is I think they're gonna win the rest of their schedule for sure. So you're gonna have let's see, you gotta have a 12-0 Northwestern team, right? 12-0 Northwestern, obviously you keep them in, and then it's just a matter of where the other Big Ten teams falls. Like my team in Michigan, I know I could win out these next few games, but then I have a conference slate of Michigan State, Wisconsin, and Ohio State. I don't know what happens with that. You also have Wisconsin, who still has to play Michigan. Ohio State still has to play Michigan and Wisconsin. So any outside of Northwestern, there's not really a concrete spot for another Big Ten team, and then you have to worry about other teams falling in that could sneak in. Like you have an undefeated, maybe an undefeated Wyoming, or not undefeated Wyoming, but 11-1 Wyoming that won their conference championship, or a 12-0 Georgetown, if I remember correctly. I don't think they've lost a game.
They have not. If they lost a game, they would be 20th in the rankings.
For sure. Maybe Central Florida has a chance to sneak up in there if they go on to win their conference championship over Georgetown. Just a lot of variables with these playoffs. The rankings very early. We have another Week 9 ranking these could definitely change. This is not going to be the same top 8. You're probably not going to see Virginia number 1, or maybe Northwestern maybe falls. You never know. So yeah, these this season's been pretty balanced, I should say, in terms of like teams. Like, you don't have a definitive number 1 team like seasons before. Like, obviously, if you go back maybe like a season or 2 ago, you can clearly tell that Georgia was like the number 1 team, or Northwestern's like the number 1 team, and Army's up there too. But this season, like, anyone could really look like the number 1 team in the nation. So that's what I like about this season. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and the schedules have been pretty fine for the most part. There hasn't been like a team that's like, well, I guess you could say Georgetown because of the conference play of the AAC, and maybe Wyoming, but they did play tough against Navy, which that might have been a controversial ranking of having Navy at number 10 and Wyoming at number 8. You have any thoughts on that? Despite Navy beating Wyoming is ranked above Navy.
I honestly just think that because it's so early, everyone kind of disagreed. I think that some people had Navy way lower, and then some people had like it was just because it was week 6, and people have differing opinions because it's so it's not set in stone. Like, it's like so opinionated at this point in the season, and nobody really decides, oh, I'm gonna discuss this with them because I disagree, because it's week 6. No one's really gonna want to discuss in full depth on why they chose Wyoming at 10 and Navy at 8. But once we get like deeper, week 9, week 12, that's when things start getting like extremely in depth, and teams start getting nitpicked on. Oh, like they didn't do this right, or oh they lost by 3 points instead of 20. Stuff like that. You start to list those off and compare resumes next to each other, and you'll start to see what should be done where. I think that Navy probably should have been above them, but I'm not going to nitpick it.
Yeah, honestly, I thought that was pretty confusing at first, because like we saw the head-to-head of Wyoming and Navy did win, so I was like, are you just ranking Navy low because of something we don't know about, or like, did y'all see something in Navy that really didn't give you the impression of a top 8 team? Like, yes, they did lose to Rutgers early on in the season, but they've picked it up. They picked it back up ever since.
Continue.
Oh, yeah, I was saying they're on a 6-0 tear right now, so
yeah. But if we want to look at the actual behind the scenes stuff, 3 rankers, I'm not going to say any names or anything. 3 of the rankers had Navy above Wyoming, and then 2 of them had Wyoming way above Navy. So it's either we think that Wyoming is too far above Navy in terms of resume to have them anywhere near, or the others who think, oh, it's close enough that the head-to-head matters. So either you see how that happens is you either think they're right next to each other because it's like, oh, they have the head-to-head and that helps them above them, or they're extremely high or above. I think that's a big enough gap that the head-to-head does not matter. So the weight it's weighted more towards the ones who have the bigger gaps, because the bigger gaps give Wyoming way more points than the 1 point more Navy gets for the ones who think Navy is better. So that's why there's such a weird distribution there of points.
Interesting. You have any thoughts on, well, I don't know if we said this or not, but do you have any thoughts on the whole top 25 as a whole? Like, do you think some teams are rated higher than they are? Do you think some teams are rated lower than they should be? Any teams that you're surprised or left out the rankings?
I think that looking back at the rankings, I think that Georgetown might have been ranked a little too high, because if you look at Georgetown, I mean, it's just terrible. I mean, the schedule it's nothing here. There's like you think about it, right? And you look at their thing, like, oh, they're unbeaten. I'm not going to look too much into this ranking. It's week 6. I'm not going to go so in depth that I can nitpick. But then you actually like look at their schedule, and it is not just bad; it is completely terrible. And SMU did not help by losing to Memphis. I mean, it's just looking even worse by the day. So Georgetown, I mean, if they lose that conference championship game, it's not looking good for them. I'm just going to have it known that it's not looking good because it doesn't make it easier. Like, it doesn't. I mean, you have LSU, but LSU's not going to finish above 500. Let's be honest. LSU's above right now, but they're not. Through SEC play, they're cooked. They're not finishing that way. South Florida sucks. Cincinnati sucks. Louisville sucks. Princeton sucks. I mean, there's just nothing here. I don't know if you agree with that take or not, but it might be spicy. But there's just nothing.
So what do you think about them, like, if they, let's say, they finish undefeated and they win their conference championship against, well, from the looks of it, it looks like it's going to be against UCF.
That's like another thing. We just don't know how the other team is going to fare. But Georgetown has put themselves in a scenario where they could walk into a playoff situation where they need to fight their way in. They have a place where they're like on the bubble here. They're undefeated, but they're on the bubble because they have only one win at all. Like, the rest of these games, like, you might as well not even show up. You're just playing some terrible teams. I mean, obviously SMU isn't that bad, but they haven't won. They just keep losing, right? And for a group of 5 team that just keeps losing, you can't really lean on them as a marquee win. I mean, SMU could. They probably are going to finish with like a 7-5 record or something, and that'll be a fine win. But it's not gonna, it's not gonna blow away the playoff committee.
I agree.
I mean, I know this is totally unfair and not a fair thing to say, but like, I think 3 years ago, Iowa State was unbeaten, and they got left out with a win over a good Nebraska team. I mean, if you compare these resumes, Georgetown is way worse than that Iowa State team's resume. And Georgetown in that ranking would probably be ranked 15, but it depends on how it finishes out, because that year was absurdly stacked on resumes.
3 seasons ago, huh?
I think it was like 3 seasons ago. Maybe it was wrong. Maybe it was 4. I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah.
The last topic I really wanted to hit on, though, the fall off of the ACC. I'm pretty sure there's only one ACC team ranked right now. Hey, did you notice that?
Well, yeah, North Carolina State in the conference. It was saying these parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's only been, like, you can clearly see there's only one ACC team here.
Only one.
In the rankings, but you definitely see a lot of group of 5 teams. You see Ohio, you see New Mexico, you see Hawaii, you see Central Florida, you see Navy. And then you don't see any ACC. You see a lot of Big Ten. You see some Big 12 representation. You see some Pac. Not much of the ACC. What happened there?
What do you think has happened to the ACC that caused them to fall off a little bit?
Cannibalism. They're starting to really eat themselves for real. Like, Virginia's been the only, like, consensus, like, top team, but then you have Army, who's been, like I said, they were not that disappointing, but like Army standards, they've been, a little down in the dumps. And then other teams are like pretty young, like Florida State's still young, but they have a 5-2 record. I think they were ranked at some point in the AP poll, but just not here in the bowl rankings.
Yeah.
You have Clemson still. That's also 5-2, but I don't think they've really played anyone quite yet. Yeah, they still have North Carolina State. That could be a statement win if they are able to beat them, but yeah. It's just a lot, not many of the ACC teams are really breaking away from the pack, especially if you're in the Atlantic Division, which is very close right now.
Yeah. And you look at like what happened to this conference, I think that, Notre Dame's the coach is not gone, of course. They're trying to rebuild something that was given to them that was less than good. But Notre Dame is down further than they've ever been. North Carolina is down further than they've ever been. We had a Miami coach for a while, but he left, and now Miami's further than they've ever been. And it's just like these teams, this conference just lost so many good coaches in quick succession that it's just they need to rebuild up again. And they're losing momentum, but they still have, that you have the Florida State up and coming. You have Army still up there. Virginia's not going anywhere. Virginia Tech is up and coming. But then after that, like you have Notre Dame winning 5 stars. I think they're up and coming. But after that, I think that there's not a lot happening in this conference that's in an upward trajectory. And when you have only 5 teams in an upward trajectory, the conference overall is in a downward trajectory as a whole. And that's not really good in a realm where the Big Ten has 3, 4, 5, 6 great teams. The Big 12 is, of course, all coach, like 100%. The Pac-12 has Stanford, UCLA, USC is really good, and they have a couple other things that are going for them. And the SEC is, of course, really good as well. And then you have like the ACC just sitting here trying to gain back momentum that they lost. So I think the ACC is the only conference with a downward trajectory right now. Maybe the Pac. You could argue the Pac as well, actually. Those 2 conferences are going down, and the Big 12 and the Big 10 and the SEC are going up, maybe.
Yeah. Georgia's not going anytime soon. South Carolina's still there.
Yeah.
Still have Ole Miss. You still have UAB. Still have Bama. Well,
Bama's disappointing, but they're not horrible. They're just scheduling.
Yeah, they've been scheduling like out of their talent level. But yeah. Bama's still gonna be Bama. Like as long as he recruits well, I think he should be fine.
Of course,
we've been saying that for years, but he needs to actually like get it together.
Yeah, he's been going in the right direction, but Alabama has not been going in the right direction. I just wonder, the recruiting might be there, but is the roster building there? Like, are you building the correct positions? Are you filling the correct positions? Are you fixing the actual problems that Bama has, or are you just adding talent? Just adding it. When you look at the roster of Alabama, they have 5 tight ends. Like, I just don't understand why there's 5. You don't need 5. They only have 7 O linemen. You need more than that to be full on O linemen. You only have 6 D linemen. You need a little bit more of that. You need more big guys up front to help this team really win against those top end talent. It's not bad right now, obviously, but you just need a little more depth to really consider yourself a playoff contender. And I think Alabama doesn't have it right now. They'll get there though, I'm sure.
Yep. All right. I have to go.
If we're finishing off here, we're gonna finish it up here. And thank you all for watching the I don't know what we're gonna call this. I guess the playoff rankings discussion summary type thing. We might do it more. We might not. We'll have to see how it goes. And I thank you all for coming. See you next time.